Sometime back, years ago, I noticed that when I was playing the acoustic guitar, that the strings on the guitar felt like they were different tensions, and wildly different tensions. And as I looked up these tensions online, I found that I was right. The E and B strings tend to be a lighter tension, and then the G string is somewhat almost 10 pounds tighter than the B string and the E string, and the D string is also quite a bit tighter. Then it loosens up again over the bottom strings. And that didn't make any sense to me, so to make matters worse, other instruments were even worse. I was finding out that like mandolins and tenor guitars and things like that, the tensions were all over the place. So what I decided to do was to put together a set of balanced tension strings. Now they aren't equally tensioned. What I did was, what made sense to me was that because the low E, when you strike it hard, vibrates wider than the high E, much wider. It seemed to me that it would make sense to have these strings, the first two strings, the E and the B, be a slightly lighter tension than the G and the D, which would be slightly heavier than the E and B. And then the bottom two strings would be even a little higher tension. So rather than having it be something like 20, 22 pounds, 34 pounds, 32 pounds, 27 pounds, 29 pounds, something weird like that, it would be more like the first two would be in the 22-pound range, the middle two would be somewhere in the 24-pound range, and the bottom two would be somewhere closer to the 25, 26-pound range. And so they would feel much more balanced. Now, what I have on here now are a set of elixirs. I believe these are the custom light. I don't think they're, I believe they're something like 12 to 56, something like that maybe. Maybe they're mediums. I'll look that up. So what I'm going to do is show you a little bit about how these strings sound. These are the original strings with, the wildly different tension. I'm going to be sitting at about, looks like about 18 inches in front of a Shure SM81. That's this microphone right here. And I'm pointing it at about the 14th fret on this guitar. And I'll just play some things, finger pick, that sort of thing, and some strumming so you can hear different ways this guitar sounds right now. So that was finger picked. Here's something just a little flat picking. Angelina Baker in G. Let's see. Strumming. So that's how this guitar sounds. And I'm using a medium pick, Delran, I think it is, something like that. Anyway, I'm using a medium pick. And I'm going to change the strings up with a balanced tension and see if you can tell a difference. Okay, so I'm back. I've just replaced the strings on this guitar with what are pretty much a balanced set. Like I said, they're sort of graduated balance. They're a little lighter, a little lower tension on the first two strings, slightly heavier on the middle two, and slightly heavier on the bottom two. The tension on these, or the gauge on these, are, this is a 012, 016. This is a, looks like, let me see here. Yes. This is a 022, this is a 030, this is a 042, and this is a 056. So essentially a 12 to 56 set. Some people call that a light top, heavy bottom, something like that. But that's a pretty nice balanced set. And the first thing I notice is that it feels lighter tension. I don't feel the resistance as much on the middle strings. Now, these strings, in all fairness, even though all the strings I showed you today, the elixirs and these strings are all 80-20 bronze, they're by different manufacturers. The 80-20 bronzes I was using were the elixir, and so they're a coated string, and they're made by elixir, whereas these other 80-20s are Diodarios, and they are uncoated. So it's a little bit apples to oranges as far as sounds and all that sort of thing, but the tensions are pretty close to as I was telling you. The elixirs are, the tension's sort of all over the place, whereas these are a little more balanced. Now I'm going to play the same thing as I played before and see if you can hear any difference. You probably can, because again, these are a brand new set of strings. The other strings had been on for a few weeks, so you know it's not really a fair comparison. But I'm looking really not so much for tone, but balance of volume. So here we go. So that's just finger pick, something simple. Flat picked. I think I did Angelina Baker. Basic strumming. So there you go. I'm going to try these out. I don't know how they'll last. Compared to the other set, the middle two strings are a little lighter. The top two strings are essentially the same, and the bottom two strings are real close to the same. In other words, the elixir strings, the gauge are 12, 16, 24, 32, 42, 53. The Diodario set was 12, 16, 22, I believe. Let me just say, yes, 22, 30. So the fourth string was about 2,000ths off. The third string was 4,000ths off. The elixir was 0.24. These are 0.20. And the bottom two strings were heavier. The elixirs were 42s and 53s. This is a 40. Actually, this is the same, 42, and then this is a 56 on the bottom. So it's I actually like it. Has a nice sound. And it feels real good in the hands. What I like mostly is because I'm not the best flat picker ever. It feels more even going string to string while I'm flat picking. So the resistance is very similar string to string, whereas the other ones, like I said, there's a high jump in tension between the first strings and the third and fourth string. Especially the third string is much higher tension. I think it's like 37 pounds on the elixir set, whereas these are these go essentially about 22, 22 and a half to about 24, 25, and I think this is like 26, and this might be 27 or something like that. So it's a much more even sort of feel going across the neck. So try it out, see if you like it. That's my take on this. Take care.